Retiring a millionaire can seem like an impossible task, especially if you don't have a high-paying job. With the current state of the world following all the lockdowns, just having enough to get by can seem like an uphill battle, let alone accumulating enough money to have $1 million for your retirement. This goal is a lot more achievable than you might think, even with working a minimum wage job. And the way to get there is through investing, but that leaves a lot of questions to be answered, like how much do you invest, what do you invest into, and how long will this all take? So throughout the course of this video, I'll be giving you a step-by-step guide on the exact strategy that you need to follow in order to retire a millionaire, even on a low salary. The first step is to make your saving automatic. Now, everyone knows that you're meant to save your money. It's common knowledge, everybody says they do it, thinking to themselves that I'll save $20 or $50 from this week's paycheck, but then once that comes around, it never actually seems to happen. So the secret is to make it automatic. Personally, what I do with my investing is I have an automatic payment that comes out of my bank account and goes into my broker that will invest my money for me. It happens in the background. I don't have to think about it or do anything. Even if I forget to do any investing or it doesn't cross my mind for that week, it still happens automatically. So that really removes a lot of the friction for me, and this makes the process very hands-free and makes sure that my money is consistently put into the stock market on a routine basis without me actually having to do anything. So once you've got your saving nice and automated, how much will you actually need to invest on a monthly basis? This chart here will give you a good indication of how much you'll need to be investing on a monthly basis based on your age. So you can see that definitely the younger you are, the less money you have to put up front, but these are all the amounts that you have to put in, and many of them are extremely achievable, especially when you're younger in say your 20s or 30s. So feel free to take a screenshot or pause the video or come back to this slide so you can see what these dollar amounts are. But you might be wondering, where did you get these figures from? How do you know that's how much I'll need to invest in order to retire a millionaire? So these numbers that I've put up are based on a few different assumptions. The first one is that you'll be getting an average return of 10% per year. And you might be asking, how can you guarantee that's going to happen? Well, it's through an investment called the S&P 500, which is just a collection of the top 500 biggest publicly traded companies in America. It has been averaging a return of 10% per year over the very long run, say a 20 to 30 year period. It doesn't necessarily happen every single year, one after another. There's points in time where the S&P 500 can virtually do nothing, and there's other years where it can far exceed that 10% return. But over the long run, it always gives you that 10% return, and this is because it's made up of some of the biggest companies in the world like Facebook, Coca-Cola, Amazon. And when you buy into it, your money is diversified amongst multiple different businesses. So essentially you're buying a small portion of the overall stock market with one investment. And this means you're getting exposure to some of the biggest and most established companies in the world, and that's why the return is so consistent. And the figures I've given are also based on the assumption that the retirement age in your country is 65 years old. So these are all based on a compound interest calculator, and if you want to check it out for yourself, I'll leave it down below in the description box if you want to play around with some of the numbers. Now obviously the earlier that you start, the better off you'll be, and if you're older, you'll have to play catch up and invest more money to achieve that same goal. But I think all these numbers are very achievable based on your age. It doesn't take a lot of money to get there, but it just takes consistent investment into the stock market and never missing out on any of your weekly investments. So number 3, looking at where should your money go. As I discussed in the previous step, a broad diversified ETF like the S&P 500 is a great way to put your money. Again, you're getting exposure to 500 of the biggest companies in the world, and it removes a lot of the stresses that people associate with investing, like having to spend hours of their time researching companies, looking at the perfect buying and selling points, trying to time the market. It takes away all of those stresses and just makes investing a very methodical and almost boring activity. Because this investing strategy is all about the long term, you should think about it as a second savings. You're not going to get rich overnight, and it is all about that consistent addition of money to your portfolio and just investing week after week, month after month, year after year, and slowly accumulating your wealth. That's why those automatic payments are so important, because you want your money to grow in the background without you having to think about it. So the way that this all works is through compound interest, and this is essentially where you earn interest on your interest. So if you look at the compound interest calculator, if you're looking at this from the perspective of someone who's 20, so they'll have 45 years to invest if the retirement age is 65. and they'll have to put in $120 a month, which is very achievable, I think, at the average return of 10%. So you can see here from this graph that nothing really happens in those first few years. It's only until about year 20 where you actually start seeing an upward trend in terms of your investment. But you can see how quickly it goes, and then as you keep on going, the jumps in the value of your portfolio get greater and greater. So this is really just a long-term game, and you have to be in it, not trying to make a lot of money in the short term. So don't be discouraged about that small amount of growth in the beginning. The longer you hold on, the more your money will compound and gain interest on itself, and the faster you'll see those returns that'll get you to that $1 million retirement. And number 5 is managing your expectations. Other investments might catch your eye, like fast growth stocks such as Tesla, or looking at the massive gains that can be made in cryptocurrency. But this dollar cost averaging strategy is one of the most guaranteed ways that you can secure yourself a nice consistent return that can eventuate to you retiring with $1 million. But other asset classes might catch your eye, such as cryptocurrency, with Bitcoin having gone up over 1,000% in just 2 years, and growth stocks like Tesla having gone up 800% in just 1 year. When you compare the almost slow and boring strategy of dollar cost averaging into the S&P 500, these other asset classes can seem a lot more exciting, and you might get lured in and think of the potential rewards that you can make. So should you branch out with your investing, or should you just stick to the traditional S&P 500? If you want a more complete guide on the different types of asset classes that you can invest into, make sure to check out this video on screen that will compare ETF, individual stocks, and cryptocurrency, so that you can make a more informed decision on which one is the best for you. None of this is licensed financial information, it's all my personal opinion, so always make sure to do your own research